We are coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio today. Thanks for tuning in to the big broadcast from the KJAG radio studios in downtown Atchison, Kansas. We are live as live can get on JiggyJaguar.com. 2 Central, 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, and 1 p.m. Mountain Standard each and every day. 24/7 at JiggyJaguar.com on the TuneIn apps. And, of course, our app is available in both the app stores. And on-demand podcasts are available via the iHeartRadio network. And, of course, live videos available on Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook. We have daily uploads on Rumble, BitChute, and, of course, cross-posted to YouTube. And we have got 2 great guests joining us today here on our big broadcast. We are talking about Healthy High today, and that's ketamine. It is knocking out depression. And we have 2 great guests with us today. Joining us today here on the old Skype. Yes, the old Skyper, Rooney. We have got Dr. Stephen L. Mandel with us. He's the founder and president, and also Sam Mandel, co-founder and chief operating officer of Ketamine Clinics in Los Angeles. And, of course, ketamine is quickly becoming one of the most promising alternative therapies for depression, anxiety, PTSD, and other mood disorders and chronic pain conditions. As far as psychiatric drugs go, it's the first new option to become available in over 50 years as more and more clinical research is published and buzz continues to build around ketamine's potential. Many people are wondering how it works, what benefits it can offer, and here are just a few of the encouraging positive effects of ketamine therapy. We're going to let the 2 guys behind this explain this in a little bit more detail. First of all, Dr. Mandel and Sam, thanks for joining us today here on our big broadcast. How are you guys?
I'm good, Jiggy. How are you?
Pretty good, actually.
Great. Thank you for having us.
So, gentlemen, let's talk about ketamine. It helps kind of stem the tide between depression, anxiety, PTSD, and some of the other mental illnesses. Tell us a little bit about ketamine, gentlemen.
Well, you've done a really good job getting started. Ketamine was approved by the FDA in 1970 as an anesthetic.
Okay.
Fast forward to today, in the later part of in the 90s and in this century, it became known as a really amazing drug for reversing suicidality, depression, and PTSD in much lower doses than it had been approved.
Holy smokes.
It's also used in veterinary medicine. So some of your listeners might say ketamine, like, isn't that a horse tranquilizer or a cat tranquilizer? And that is correct. It is a human anesthetic and among the most widely used in the world. And it was the most widely used in the world for, about 40 years. So very safe. We have a lot of data on it for that purpose. And as Dr. Mandel was saying, in the last 20 years or so, tremendous amount of peer-reviewed studies coming out proving it's PTSD, depression, substance use disorder, suicidality, etc.
Fantastic.
Now, your audience may have heard of ketamine as something that people use recreationally, and that is used that way too. And that's a third, totally separate use with a separate route of administration and a separate dosage schedule.
Okay. Now, how does this therapy work exactly, gentlemen? Kind of break this down for us and explain this in a little bit more detail for us.
Ketamine actually causes new growth in the brain in areas of associated with depression.
Okay.
You actually see new receptors in the brain.
Wow.
We're getting a lot of weird feedback over here, Jiggy.
You're fine. You guys are fantastic. I'm enjoying this conversation here. We have got 2 great guests with us today. They join us live here on our big broadcast. Dr. Stephen L. Mandel is with us, founder and president, and also Sam Mandel, co-founder and chief operating officer of Ketamine Clinics in Los Angeles. And they are with us today talking about ketamine. It's been administering infusions for 7+ years. And Dr. Stephen L. Mandel is the founder and president. He is with us today talking about this. So what are some of its goals and some of your success rate, gentlemen? Explain this to us.
Come to us depressed. What are we talking about with depressed? They feel helpless. They feel hopeless. They feel worthless.
Yeah.
They don't have the energy or the enthusiasm to do anything. They don't get pleasure. They don't get pleasure from their wives, from their children, from their jobs, from their hobbies. Some of them really even can't get out of bed. They barely have the energy or the commitment, so they're able to experience pleasure.
Yeah. Well, this is quite the deal. We have got two great guests with us today. They join us live here on our big broadcast. Dr. Stephen L Mandel. He's the founder and president, and also Sam Mandel, co-founder and chief operating officer of Ketamine Clinics out there in Los Angeles. And these guys are just amazing. They're here talking about this and how it treats PTSD and some of the other mood disorders, chronic pain conditions. As far as psychiatrics drugs go, it's the first new option to become available in over 50 years. So why are most people uninformed about this life-saving breakthrough, gentlemen?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jiggy. You know, when we talk about this, we're pretty enthusiastic about it and the results that we're seeing. That's often what comes next. Well, if it's so great, if that's all true, if it works 83% of the time as it does in our clinic, then, and it works faster, works in a matter of days or weeks when compared to the traditional treatments. I mean, a week actually typically is the longer end of that. And it works safer and with none of the side effects of the traditional treatments, then how come I've never heard of it? And that's a kind of complicated question and a political one, but essentially ketamine is off patent. It's a cheap generic drug. There's no manufacturer that stands to profit much from the sale of ketamine, and multiple people are making it. So there isn't an interest in a single entity that's really pushing it for profit. And those who have alternatives that are much more profitable, that they have a patent on, are able to get insurance companies to pay for them and physicians to recommend those instead. Ketamine is off-label for this use. It's an FDA-approved medicine, but this treatment of a ketamine infusion therapy for mood is what's called off-label. So it's just a new indication, a new use for an old medicine. And for that reason, insurers will choose not to cover it, though that's rapidly changing. And doctors will choose not to recommend it.
Wow. This is amazing. We have got two great guests with us today. They join us live here on our big broadcast. Of course, Dr. Mandel's passion for healthy and healing began at a young age. He started with nursing a robin back to health by feeding it with an eyedropper after its unfortunate encounter with the neighborhood cat. Since then, he has worked to heal as many people as possible in a wide variety of clinical settings. Basically, at the start of 2020, he'd administered over 9,000 infusions, over 1,500 patients, and he has been seen on all the different major outlets, the Doctors, Wired Video, Los Angeles Magazine, The Hollywood Reporter. What are folks telling you as far as feedback, Doctor, to this this ketamine?
Well, feedback from patients is remarkable. It's glowing.
Yes.
People say, "Thank you for giving me my life back."
That's awesome.
Say, "Oh my God, I can be with my wife again without being irritated. I can be with my kids without getting angry. I'm going to work and liking it." People enjoy, food stops tasting like sawdust, and music stops sounding annoying and starts sounding, "Oh, that sounds great." It's really remarkable, and it happens quickly, and it happens. Most of them are coming to us after they've tried other things. They are scared. They are sure it's not going to work for them, despite our 83% success rate. They think they're going to be one of the 17%. And then this happens, and they're like, "Oh my goodness."
Well, I'll tell you, this is fantastic as far as what you guys have figured out here. Sam, you seem to be the business side of this whole thing. Talk to us a little bit about the business of this, because you mentioned that it's an off-brand, it's off label and everything, and this isn't something the pharmaceutical industry wants to get their hands on. And kind of talk to us about the business side of this.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of politics in healthcare, and a lot of people aren't as aware of how deeply that really impacts what you have available to you for your health. And it's especially in the U.S., and it's a problem. And people are getting substandard care and a lack of options for effective solutions because of it, and including ketamine infusions for depression.
Yeah,
that's fortunately starting to change a little bit in our space. But yeah, I think first and foremost, I'm a patient advocate, and I have a real passion for mental health. And though I'm not a clinician, working closely with Dr. Mandel, who you may have noticed is also my father, has been tremendously fulfilling and gratifying. And I mentioned the distinction of being kind of first a patient advocate, because I really believe that's one of the things that's set us apart. Yeah. Over the last almost 8 years now, is truly making the business, building it around the needs and the desires of the patients and their comfort and safety and their optimum treatment results. I think is really what's been the key to our success. The business has been tough. It's been very difficult. There was not a blueprint to follow. This was a brand new thing when we started. We were one of the first clinics in the country. So a lot of things, most things had to really be created from scratch. There wasn't a model to look. There wasn't other proven approach to doing this work that we could look and see, okay, well, those guys are doing X, Y, and Z, and that seems to work well. Let's try that. And as a matter of fact, there was a lot of pushback. There were a lot of people in the medical community and doctors who thought that Dr. Mandel was crazy, that he should have a successful practice as an anesthesiologist and respected in the community and making good money, and he should just keep doing that. Why would he jeopardize all that for this crazy experimental new thing? And there was a lot of pushback. And even on the business side, we had vendors who would not work with us because we had ketamine in the name of the business, or because we were using ketamine. And there's such a big, even today, such a big education gap among not only the public, but even professionals, medical professionals and clinicians. Even today, I speak with vendors who will turn us down, not open contracts, not want to work with us just because ketamine is in the name, which is absolutely crazy. Now, that has changed a lot in 8 years. Sorry, what's that?
It just sounds just so insane that the pharmaceutical industry has such a grip on all this from a business perspective. That is just, but it's you're completely true on this. If folks are not able to get their hands on this stuff and make a buck, they've got no interest, they're saying.
Yeah, and it is changing. Ketamine's really paving the way right now for other psychedelic medicines. So ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic, and part of the treatment results we're seeing is, Dr. Mandel was mentioning the kind of neurochemical or biochemical processes in the brain that are happening, but there is also the experiential component, the psychological component of what people are experiencing during their infusions that can be really, really therapeutic, really healing. And in that sense, it can be similar to other psychedelics like psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, or MDMA, which is the active ingredient in ecstasy. And it's really opened the door for more research to happen on these substances that actually have tremendous healing potential when used clinically in a safe setting and with the right professional guidance. So that's really an exciting time for mental health now and what's to come as far as these other agents becoming available. But ketamine has been around for 50 years. We have an enormous amount of safety and efficacy data on it. We know that it works, and we have it available now today. So it's a pretty exciting time. As you said yourself, 50 years, there has not been innovation in terms of medical treatments, drug interventions, and this is a big one.
So, Doctor, go ahead, Doctor. I mean to cut you off. Go ahead, my friend.
Another way to look at the experiential thing is that we lead very siloed lives, many of us. We have the body and the mind and the spirit. And we go to church or whatever our house of worship is on whatever our day is, usually Sunday for our spirit. And we deal with our mind at work. We use intellect at work, and at home, we're more involved with intimacy and with closeness. And these things are really kind of separate, and they're separate in our minds. And what this experience does is enable the one silo, one part of us to become in touch with the other.
Yes.
For many people, that's extremely reassuring, relaxing, and liberating. It's like all of a sudden, all these separate parts, you realize they all fit together nicely and play well together. And it's a very joyous experience.
So, Doctor, I know that there is a lot of states around the country. For instance, Colorado fairly recently has decriminalized and has legalized some of these different, magic mushrooms and some of these. And I know that there's I'm not sure where it is in Michigan, but they are slowly but surely decriminalizing and using some of these, at one time, these dangerous drugs, and they're studying the medical benefits. Do you think that this is just, this ketamine is basically the tip of the iceberg as we move forward here, with research and medicine and things like that?
I do. I think it's the tip of the spear, if you will, cutting through the dark ages of making all of these
Yes.
substances bad and making all of them criminal. All of these substances are different. There has to be nuance. It can't be black
Yes.
or white. It can't be you shalt or you shalt not.
Yes.
You have to individualize according to people's ages. We don't sell alcohol to 14-year-olds, and there's a good reason for that. There's nothing wrong with alcohol, and there's nothing wrong with 14-year-olds either. But it's not smart to mix them around.
Well, it's great that you bring up alcohol, because the irony is that alcohol is causing more death and disease than all these other drugs combined.
But I was contrasting it with other drugs that have been, or substances that have been criminalized, and how unfortunate it's been for understanding and progress. And as Jiggy was saying about research, nothing inhibits research like making something illegal. You can't learn about something that you're committing a crime to touch.
Yeah.
But that's the irony, though, as all I was saying, is that these other substances have such healing potential, and yet they're being demonized, whereas those that are actually can be quite destructive are widely available.
Yep.
They're all many of these other agents are very promising. We can't lump them all together, just as we did when we criminalized them. We can't lump them all together. Oh, they're all wonderful panaceas.
Sure.
They're going to save us. They're all different. And as Sam was pointing out, ketamine was approved by the FDA after thousands of hours of research. 1970. It was the most widely used anesthetic on earth for several decades. Literally the most widely used anesthetic on earth. It's still among the top 10 in the whole world.
Yeah.
So we know enormous amounts about this drug in terms of its safety, in terms of what dangers there are, in terms of what long-term consequences there are from using it. Now, some of these other agents are extremely promising. And I mentioned specifically psilocybin, magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
I mentioned MDMA. There are several other candidates, but these two are in the promising adjuncts to helping people with issues around their own behavior.
Yes.
But we don't have any information about them by comparison with what we have about ketamine. So I'm really enthused about them, but let's not make decisions about one based on knowledge we have from the other.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the thing that's exciting about these decriminalization movements, and not that it's going to be legal to use them or to go buy them, but just that we're going to stop putting people in prison for them, is a lot of people are self-medicating with them. And a lot of the listeners, need to know that it's not everyone who's using them is just out to have a good old time or, cause some trouble. A lot of people are suffering and they're hurting and they're looking for, ways of dealing with that. And, we hope to make better quality care more available, more accessible to more people so they can get professional help. And I'm not advocating for people to go out in the street and take drugs at all. And there's a lot of obvious risks with that. I just point out that people who are doing that are not all bad or not all just out for a good time. Some of them are really suffering and looking to try to find relief, and that helping them through other means instead of punitive punishment, putting them in a cage, is probably better for them and for our society.
Well, it's the same with the legal stuff. Many people use alcohol in a very responsible and celebratory manner.
Yes.
Many other people are using alcohol to self-soothe, to get them to sleep, to get them to overcome their social anxiety so they can speak to other people. This is kind of a kind of soft drug abuse.
Yes.
This is using a drug for other than its intended purpose in ways that can have adverse consequences, like DUIs, like waking up with strangers.
Yeah, you're hitting it all on the head, doctor. That is, you're hitting it out of the park, my friend. So gentlemen, where do we go for more information on the web and everything else to get involved with what you guys are talking about today, and how can we get more information?
Yeah, we have a really great website. It's called KetamineClinics.com, and that's KETAMINE Clinics, CLINICS.com. Lots of good information on there. We're always happy to speak with you as well. You can call us at 310-270-0625. We have a really wonderful team who answers the phone 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And it's free. There's no obligation. We do free consultations. We offer free consultations with our medical team as well to review your treatment history with you and see if this might be a good fit. And yeah, we're on all the social media outlets as well at Ketamine Clinics LA, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So yeah, we'd love to speak with anyone who's even just curious to learn more. It's pretty important that people at least know that this is an option. You know,
Yes.
We always like to say we don't need everybody to have the treatment, and we don't need everyone who has it to come to us, but we do really need everyone to know that it's an option.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really have enjoyed this. I definitely want to do this again. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for doing this, guys. Really appreciate it.
Really glad to do it.
Thanks so much for having us, Jiggy. Love your energy. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, we will talk to you soon. Gentlemen, have yourself a very, very wonderful day. Thank you, guys.
You too.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. There they go. And we are going to take a brief time out here on the Quad Pod. If you want to get more information, check out our website, JiggyJaguar.com. That is that. We will see you next week here on the Quad Pod.